Recording in progress.
Yeah, so we're moving away from Proverbs for the moment. We'll come back to it, after a while. But Song of Solomon or Song of Songs is where we're at. Yeah, it depends. Different translations call it different. Some even say Solomon's Song. Anyway. But it is the easiest way to describe it is an erotic love poem.
How did it get in?
Well, accidentally. No, it actually was included as part of the wisdom literature, or I'm sorry, as part of the writings, sorry, which were the miscellaneous things that didn't fit into the law or the prophets or the wisdom, kind of thing. So it fit into the writings portion of all that. But by the time people had sat down to make the canon, to put the books together in a canon, it had already been established as part of that. And so there were some that tried to eliminate it, but it was too late. It had already been ingrained in people. So it stuck with the Bible regardless of its canonization. So that's how it got in. We're going to start by watching a little video. Maybe that'll allow other people to come in. Those little Bible Project videos, which I'll include the link on the YouTube page if you ever go back to watch it. But let me go ahead and share our screen here and get started with this. That way we can get going, because I know the choir has to really practice this morning, since Wednesday was not a good day.
Wasn't a good day to much of anything.
No, I lost my. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, Song of Songs. Not gonna get that one.
The Song of Songs. It's a well-known but not so well understood book of the Bible. It's 8 chapters of love poetry. And while there is an introduction and a conclusion, the book doesn't have any kind of rigid literary design, and that's because it's a collection of poems. They're not meant to be dissected or taken apart. They're meant to be read as a flowing whole and simply enjoyed. The first line of the book tells us that it's the Song of Songs, which is a Hebrew idiom like the Holy of Holies or the King of Kings. It's a Hebrew way of saying the greatest thing. So this is the greatest song of all songs. Then we're told in the first line that this Song of Songs is of Solomon, which could mean that he is the author. His name does begin the book, after all. But as you read the poems, you discover that the main voice is that of a woman called the Beloved. And while there is also a male voice, it does not seem to be Solomon. Solomon is mentioned a couple times in the poems, but he's never a speaker. And you do have to admit, Solomon is a very odd candidate as the author of this book, given the fact that he had 700 wives. For the lovers in the Song of Songs, they are the only ones in the world for each other. So the of Solomon likely means in the wisdom tradition of Solomon. He was known for his wisdom, his poetry, his love of learning about every part of life. And Solomon became the father of wisdom literature in Israel. And so his legacy is here carried on through a collection of love poems that explores the human experience of love and sexual desire. The opening poem introduces us to the basic theme of this book. We hear the voice of the young woman who delights in her man, a shepherd. Now, she's not married to him yet, but it becomes clear that they're engaged and they cannot wait to be together. From the introduction, the poems flow back and forth from the woman's voice to the man, shifting from scene to scene without any kind of clear linear sequence or storyline. The poems move in these symphonic cycles, and key images and ideas get repeated and developed. So one of the basic themes uniting the poems is the intense desire that this couple has for each other, expressed through their constant seeking and finding. So after the opening poem, they're separated, but on the hunt for one another. So the woman calls out, or she'll wake up from a dream or go looking for her lover. And more than once, they'll find each other. They'll embrace. And then right when things start to get a bit racy, the scene will suddenly end. And a new one will start. They're separated, looking for each other, and on it goes. Another repeated theme is the joy of the couple's physical attraction for one another. So multiple times, they'll pause and describe each other with these elaborate
Oh,
metaphors.
yeah, you're gonna.
Here, it's
love
very
these
helpful to know that
descriptions.
these images and metaphors in Hebrew poetry are not primarily visual. If you try and paint a picture of these people based on the metaphors, you will end up with something that looks very, very strange. What you're supposed to do is reflect on the meaning of these images as they relate to the. So you'll read through the poetic cycles, and the tension will keep building in their desire and joy and attraction. And this spiraling repetition is a poetic way of heightening and focusing on the mystery and power of sexual love. It all comes together in the conclusion, which pauses to summarize what these poems are all about. Love is as strong as death. Its passions are as severe as the grave. Its flashes are of fire, a divine flame. Many waters cannot extinguish love. Rivers cannot sweep it away. If one were to give all the wealth of one's house for love, he would be utterly scorned. The poem highlights the power and the intensity of love, how it's both beautiful but also dangerous. Like fire, love can destroy people if it's abused, or be life-giving if it's protected. Ultimately, love expresses the insatiable human longing to know and be fully known and desired by another. Love is one of the most transcendent and mysterious experiences in human life, and as a part of the Bible's wisdom tradition, this book says it's a gift from God. After this, there's an odd poem about Solomon trying to do what the previous poem just said was impossible, to buy love. The woman rejects Solomon's offer, and then the book concludes with the man and the woman. They're separate once more on the hunt for each other. He calls to hear her voice. She begs him to run away with her, and that's how the book ends. Just totally open-ended. But that's a lot like love, which never truly concludes because there's always more to discover and pursue in your beloved. And so true love has no end, and neither does this book. Now, through history, the big question raised by the Song of Songs is what on earth is love poetry doing in the Bible? There have been three main interpretations of this book throughout history. In Jewish tradition, it's been read as an allegory, each character a symbol. So the woman is Israel, the man is God, and their love is a symbol of the covenant between God and Israel made at Mount Sinai and the giving of the Torah. This view flowed into the Christian tradition, but the characters were Slav. So it's about Christ's love for his people, church. And this interpretation was inspired by Paul's words in Ephesians 5 that a Christian husband's love for his wife is a symbol of Christ's love for the church. What's interesting is that in the last 100 years, archaeological discoveries among Israel's ancient neighbors in Egypt and Babylon has turned up all kinds of ancient love poetry that's very similar in language and imagery to the Song of Songs. We see that love poetry was a meaningful part of Israel's cultural environment, which has led most scholars today to view the Song of Songs as what it presents itself to be, an arrangement of Israelite love poetry reflecting on the divine gift of love. But that doesn't mean that it's only ancient love poetry. There's a key feature of these poems that sticks out when you read them as a part of the Old Testament, and that's the overwhelming use of garden imagery. There are powerful echoes of the Garden of Eden and the idyllic scene between the married couple in the early chapters of Genesis. So the image of the man and the woman naked and vulnerable, but completely unified and safe with one another. This resonates in the background of the Song of Songs. It's as if in these poems we are witnessing the love of a couple whose relationship is untainted by selfishness and sin. And so ultimately the song holds out hope that even though our own relationships are so often distorted by selfishness, love is a transcendent gift. And it's meant to point us to something greater, to the gift of God's love that will one day permeate and transform his beloved world. And that's what the Song of Songs is all about.
You hear that song, Love Stinks?
No,
It's 1980. Good song,
I know love hurts.
Love Stinks.
I don't like the song Love Hurts.
No.
Too sad. Okay, so we are in the Song of Songs or Song of Solomon, however you, whatever's in your translation there, but it reads, it's poetry, but we read it like a narrative. So we got a lot to go through. So I have concluded in bold. I have included the the
Sometimes.
subheadings, yeah, for the particular speaker, so we don't get lost by just going from one poem to the next kind of thing. So the Song of Songs, which is Solomon's. This is from the young woman and her friends. Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for your love is better than wine. Your anointing oils are fragrant. Your name is perfume poured out. Therefore the maidens love you. Draw me after you. Let us make haste. The king has brought me into his chambers. We will exult and rejoice in you. We will extol your love more than wine. Rightly do they love you. I am black and beautiful, O daughters of Jerusalem, like the tents of Kedar, like the curtains of Solomon. Do not gaze at me because I am dark, because the sun has gazed on me. My mother's sons were angry with me. They made me keeper of the vineyards, but my own vineyard I have not kept. Tell me, you whom my soul loves, where you pasture your flock, where you make it lie down at noon. For why should I be like one who is veiled beside the flocks of your companions? If you do not know, O fairest among women, this is the friends now. If you do not know, O fairest among women, follow the tracks of the flock and pasture your kids beside the shepherd's tents. Okay, now on to the young man and his friends, and then back to the young woman. So I compare you, this is the man. I compare you, my love, to a mare among Pharaoh's chariots. Yeah, you're like a horse. Well, it is to them, but anyway, yeah. Your cheeks are comely with ornaments, your neck with strings of jewels. We will make you ornaments of gold, studded with silver. This is on to the friends now. While the king was on his couch, my nard gave forth its fragrance. My beloved is to me a bag of myrrh that lies between my breasts. My beloved is to me a cluster of henna blossoms in the vineyards of En-gedi. Ah, you are beautiful, my love. Ah, you are beautiful. Your eyes are doves. Ah, you are beautiful, my beloved. Truly lovely. Our couch is green. The beams of our house are cedar. Our rafters are pine. The regular translation don't know what that word is. They just put a pine in there for us. And then on to chapter 2. I am a rose of Sharon or Sharon, a lily of the valleys. As a lily among brambles, so is my love among maidens. As this is the woman, by the way. As an apple tree among the trees of the woods, so is my beloved among young men. With great delight, I sat in his shadow, and his fruit was sweet to my taste. He brought me to the banqueting house, and his intention toward me was love. Sustain me with raisins, refresh me with apples. Well, if you think raisins are just dried grapes, so apparently there's grapes involved. Anyway, refresh me with apples, for I am faint with love. Or oh, that his left hand were under my head, and that his right hand embraced me. I charge you, O daughters of Jerusalem, by the gazelles or the wild does, do not stir up or awaken love until it is ready. Okay. The voice of my beloved. Look, he comes, leaping upon the mountains, bounding over the hills. My beloved is like a gazelle or a young stag, running on all fours. Look, there he stands behind our wall, gazing in at the window. I don't know about that. Like a peeping Tom. Looking through the lattice, my beloved speaks and says to me, arise, my love, my fair one, and come away, for now the winter is past. The rain is over and gone. The flowers appear on the earth. The time of singing has come, and the voice of the turtle dove is heard in our land. The fig tree puts forth its figs, and the vines are in blossom. They give forth fragrance. Arise, my love, my fair one, and come away. O my dove, in the clefts of the rock, in the covert of the cliff, let me see your face. Let me hear your voice. For your voice is sweet and your face is lovely. Oh, catch us the foxes, the little foxes that ruin the vineyards, for our vineyards are in blossom. My beloved is mine and I am his. He pastures his flock among the lilies until the day breathes and the shadows flee. Turn, my beloved, be like a gazelle or a young stag on the cleft mountains. And into chapter 3. Upon my bed at night, I sought him whom my soul loves. I sought him, but found him not. I called him, but he gave no answer. I will rise now and go about the city, in the streets and in the squares. I will seek him whom my soul loves. I sought him, but found him not. The sentinels found me as they went about in the city. Have you seen him whom my soul loves? How would you like that? You're walking through the streets of downtown at night and you run across the police and say, have you seen the guy I love? Scarcely had I passed them when I found him whom my soul loves. I held him and would not let him go until I brought him into my mother's house and in the chamber of her that conceived me. Uh-oh. Yeah, remember how it said that just about the time it gets racy, it stops? Yeah. I charge you, O daughters of Jerusalem, by the gazelles or the wild does, do not stir up or awaken love until it is ready. And it stops. Who is that coming up from the wilderness like a column of smoke? Perfume. How would you like to? How would you, men? How would you like to describe your women as a column of smoke coming up from?
It kind of reminds me
Yeah.
of Borat looking for Pamela Anderson.
I love drinking.
Yes, they've been added afterwards, and of course, every now and then, like we're starting the young man and his party here in verse 6. I think the same,
Yeah.
They have similar breakdowns. I'm using the NRS. Yes, that has been added by like a column of smoke, perfumed with myrrh and frankincense, with all the fragrant powders of the merchant. Look, it is the litter of Solomon. Around it are 60 mighty men of the mighty men of Israel. So it's not the woman he's describing, it's the military. All equipped with swords and expert in war, each with his sword at his thigh because of alarms by night. King Solomon made himself a palanquin from the wood of Lebanon. He made its posts of silver, its back of gold, its seat of purple. Its interior was inlaid with stone. Daughters of Jerusalem, come out and look at King Solomon, at the crown with which his mother crowned him on the day of his wedding, on the day of the gladness of his heart.
What is a palanquin?
Like a little carried throne.
That's what the litter was earlier.
Yes.
Mine says carriage.
Yeah.
Chariot.
On to chapter 4. How beautiful you are, my love. How very beautiful. Your eyes are doves behind your veil. Your hair is like a flock of goats moving down the slopes of Gilead. Hey, Karen, your hair is like a flock of goats.
Have you ever smelled
Your teeth are like a flock of shorn ewes that have come up from the washing, all of which bear twins, and not one of them, not one among them is bereaved. That's kind of that's actually a nice description, because basically what he's saying is you have pearly whites and they're all there. Your lips are like crimson thread and your mouth is lovely. Your cheeks are like halves of a pomegranate behind your veil. Your neck is like the Tower of David, built in courses. On it hang 1,000 bucklers, all of them shields of warriors. Your 2 breasts are like 2 fawns, twins of a gazelle that feed among the lilies. Until the day breathes and the shadows flee, I will hasten to the mountain of myrrh and the hill of frankincense. You are altogether beautiful, my love. There is no flaw in you. Come with me from Lebanon, my bride. Come with me from Lebanon. Depart from the peak of Amana, from the peak of Senir and Hermon, and from the dens of lions, from the mountains of leopards. You have ravished my heart, my sister, my bride. You have ravished my heart with a glance of your eyes, with one jewel of your necklace. How sweet is your love, my sister, my bride. How much better is your love than wine, and the fragrance of your oils than any spice. Your lips distill nectar, my bride. Honey and milk are under your tongue. The scent of your garments is like the scent of Lebanon. A garden locked is my sister, my bride, garden locked, a fountain sealed. Your channel is an orchard of pomegranates with all choicest fruits, henna with nard, nard and saffron, calamus and cinnamon, with all trees of frankincense, myrrh, and aloes, with all chief spices, a garden fountain, a well of living water, and flowing streams from Lebanon. Awake, O north wind, and come, O south wind. Blow upon my garden that its fragrance may be wafted abroad. Let my beloved come to his garden that he may eat its choicest fruits. Chapter 5.
You all remember the Waltons?
Yes.
There's a thing that for some reason stuck in my head. Mary Ellen needs a Bible verse that she's supposed to memorize. And John Boy gives her one from the Song of Solomon, which is, sexually.
Yeah. Boy, this guy is full of it, I tell you.
Pretty certainly. Solomon must have been lonely or something. I don't know.
Right,
What?
and Solomon wrote. it.
Well, it's attributed to him, but yeah, we don't know for certain he wrote it.
Women to be available. I mean, he didn't have to take very far.
700 wives and 300 porcupines.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Pretty well known.
Yes. Well, yes, it was about, right, treaty and, pact with the,
Unrequited and close to being requited. Human romance or lust,
yes,
you can just say.
well, yeah.
And why are we doing it?
Why are we what? Read it. Sorry, I'm trying to catch your context.
What thing is it gonna teach us?
It would be nice.
Once we started today, the lights.
I'm starting to have flashes of Hee-Haw.
Blue is fair.
It's only got 8 chapters and we're gonna read 6 of them today.
There must be really smelly people who need all those spices, don't you think?
No, if I want to read it with passion, I've been reading. Chapter 5. I come to my garden, my sister, my brother. I gather my myrrh with my spice. I eat my honeycomb with my honey. I drink my wine with my milk. My wine with my milk.
Yeah.
I once tried, watching reruns of Laverne and Shirley. Cindy Williams died. But I remember trying Laverne's favorite drink. Don't remember what that was. Pepsi and milk. Pepsi and milk. I tried that. It's not too bad. Yeah.
This is up the Betsy.
Well, yeah.
But he had some,
It's still carbonated milk. I drank my wine with my milk. Eat friends, drink, and be drunk with love. I was sleeping, but my heart was awake. The sound of my beloved knocking. Open to me, my sister, my love, my dove, my perfect one, for my head is wet with dew, my locks with the drops of the night. I had put off my garment. How could I put it on again? Well, that's pretty easy. Just put one leg in first. I had bathed my feet. How can I soil them? Step on dirt. My beloved thrust his hand into the opening, and my inmost being yearned for him. I arose to open to my beloved, and my hands dripped with myrrh. My fingers with liquid myrrh upon the handles of the bolt. Getting racy. What do you think's gonna happen? I opened to my beloved, but my beloved had turned away and was gone. My soul failed me when he spoke. I sought him, but did not find him. I called him, but he gave no answer. Making their rounds in the city, the sentinels found me. They beat me. They wounded me. They took away my mantle, those sentinels of the walls. I charge you, O daughters of Jerusalem, if you find my beloved, tell him this. I am faint with love. What is your beloved more than another beloved, O fairest among women? What is your beloved more than another beloved that you thus charge us? My beloved is all radiant and ruddy, distinguished among 10,000. His head is the finest gold. His locks are wavy, black as a raven. His eyes are like doves beside springs of water, bathed in milk, fitly set. His cheeks are like beds of spices, yielding fragrance. His lips are lilies, dripping liquid myrrh. His arms are rounded gold, set with jewels. His body is an ivory panel decorated with sapphires. His legs are alabaster columns set upon bases of gold. His appearance is like Lebanon, choice as the cedars. His speech is most sweet, and he is altogether desirable. This is my beloved, and this is my friend, O daughters of Jerusalem. So he's tall, dark, and handsome.
Yeah.
Chapter 6. Where has your beloved gone, O fairest among women? Which way is your beloved turned, that we may seek him with you? Well, my beloved has gone down to his garden, to the beds of spices, to pasture his flock in the gardens and to gather lilies. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. He pastures his flock among the lilies. And then he speaks. You are beautiful as Tirzah, my love, comely as Jerusalem, terrible as an army with banners. Don't call it that, me.
Mine says majestic
Majestic.
as trees.
Okay. Yeah, I like that better. Turn away your eyes from me, for they overwhelm me. You're so beautiful, I can't look at you. Your hair is like a flock of goats moving down the slopes of Gilead. And your teeth are like a flock of ewes that have come up from the washing. All of them bear twins, and not one among them is bereaved. This sounding familiar?
Mhm.
Your cheeks are like halves of a pomegranate behind your veil. There are 60 queens and 80 concubines and maidens without number. My love, my perfect one, is the only one, the darling of her mother, flawless to her who bore her. The maidens saw her and called her happy. The queens and concubines praised her. Who is this that looks forth like the dawn, fair as the moon, bright as the sun? There's a majestic as troops with banners. Is that better?
Yeah.
Good. I went down to the nut orchard to look at the blossoms of the valley, to see whether the vines had budded, whether the pomegranates were in bloom. All right. Before I was aware, is that right? Yeah. Okay. Before I was aware, my desire set me in a chariot beside my prince. Return, return, O Shulamite. Return, return, that we may look upon you. Why should you look upon the Shulamite as upon a dance before two armies? And we stop there this week.
I have a question, which is not really related to the subject.
That's fine.
In the Bible, it talks about the cedars of Lebanon, and a lot of times it's portrayed as being a very lush. You think of it as being very green and lush, but today I don't think of Lebanon being that way. So, has climate changed it? I mean, did it used to be very, very lush and green and lots of big trees? And
There's a couple of ways to look at it. Number one, we are separated by about 3,000 years at this point. So over time, 3,000 years is a long time. We see trees, and some of them are, several hundred years old, but we don't see any that are 3,000 years old. So it could be just a factor of time that the desert swept over the area, the aridness of it couldn't feed the trees anymore, and so they just died out with just the way nature moves. The other is that it was deforested.
yeah,
They
right.
clear cut the
Yeah,
forest.
they talk about cutting down all those trees.
With that said, it doesn't mean that they're mutually exclusive. It could have been a factor of both. It could have been neither. We just don't know. What we do know is that Lebanon, in its history, has boasted of having great trees. So the Babylonians even have in their writings of the area having trees. And of course, we've got Sidon and Tyre, who with their histories, sorry, I'm drawing blank. Anyway, with their ancient histories, also talking about trees being transported on, over water and things. So it's hard. It's hard to really say. Now,
But at one time, it probably was a very,
There were actually cedars again.
we make an assumption, and
I said,
we make some assertions based on some evidence, but most of it is historical evidence, or literary evidence, I suppose.
which, when you think of that, you wonder, so if that was like that, then the other regions around that we think of as being so deserty today, they may have been much more.
Well, think about almost our lifetimes, there's a biography of Lyndon Johnson, and in it, he talks about how the hill country got plowed up by the first settlers, and they washed away the soil and was never fertile again.
They didn't know what to do.
Because it was such a shallow.
Yeah, that's what I was
No, no,
told.
no.
There used to be like a desert and then these cedars
Well,
cover it. now.
if we,
Well, it used to be good soil, but the topsoil was very thin, and so once it was plowed up and the wind came, it was gone.
Yeah, there's a lot of granite under the ground.
Yeah,
And it's in Brazos County. My mother was born near, on the way to Hearn, that's a little, no, anyway. Eventually, there was a hill she remembered as Blue Bonnet Hill. It was covered, well, we went looking for it after I was born, and it was all mesquite.
we didn't know what to do, and remember the dust bowl
see what you started.
that lasted a long time ago, and it tore up everybody's topsoil.
Yeah.
All the way up to Oklahoma.
Well, we can, we also know oases exist. There's just areas where there's trees and water and green in the midst of this vast desert. They do exist. So,
And I think,
it could have been something like
was it, I think that's what you were asking to begin with, was Lebanon a sort of oasis?
Well, I mean, I just think that it was there, I think of it as being very green and lots of plants and trees and, and now when you think about Lebanon, urban deserts, no trees, no.
Was it Death Valley originally a lake?
that. Well, yeah.
So it was lush, probably green.
Maybe yeah.
Now it's just desert.
That's true, and right now, Lake Mead, it's drying up.
So is the Salt Lake, and they're really worried because if the Salt Lake goes dry, all the chemicals that are in there are gonna blow in the air, and it's gonna not healthy air.
Everybody's blood pressure's gonna go up. For more reasons than one.
Increase your medication.
I don't mean to make light of it. Serious.
Well, you think you should, that's, but you got to.
We're not having Sunday school next. Because the men are providing a breakfast for.
And then the next Sunday you're gone.
No, I'm here on the 19th. Today's the 5th, next week will be the 12th.
26th. you're
I'll be
gone.
here, so we'll have Sunday school on the 19th,
And then on.
but I won't be here on the 26th. So the expression, so next week, we're going to finish up Song of Solomon. There's only 2 chapters left. Oh, 2 weeks, sorry, 2 weeks later, the 19th. We'll have the last 2 chapters, which are expressions of praise and then homecoming. And then we're gonna get back into the King's narrative, back into First Kings for a little bit. And we're gonna hear about Solomon's errors, his adversaries, and his future. So I've already told you that it's towards the end of his reign at this point, so I've just given a kind of a spoiler alert as to his future, so. So any questions there? Let's stop the share. No questions? Okay, choir members. They're expecting in the choir room. If anybody else wants to join us for singing, please go ahead and we'll see y'all in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.